Everyone, welcome to the Dean Obeidallah show. I'm so happy to have on this Substack Live my second ever Joanne Carducci, JoJo from Jerz. You know her from her amazing Substack, which you can check out, jojofromjerz.substack.com. You're here on the Stephanie Miller show, and she never holds back. She always tells the truth, and that's why I admire her so much. Joanne, nice to see you, my friend. How are you?
Hey Dean, I'm okay. I'm hanging in there. We were joking. I'm living the dream as a suburban mom of a tween and a full grown teenager. That comes with its set of let's say joys. It's a half day, and one wants freaking McDonald's, and the other one wants Philly Pretzel Factory, and then the next thing I know, I'm trying to accommodate everybody, and my daughter's like, "I hate you," and it's like, what?
What?
This is
Really? Are you
yeah.
at what
She
age, before we talk about politics, at what age do kids say to their mom, I hate you? Because I remember, I have to be honest, I remember growing up in Jersey. And at some point, if you're from Jersey, you got to tell your mom you hate her at some point. I feel I regret it later as an adult. But
Oh
honestly,
yeah.
is it like 8, 10, 12? When does that start?
Well, I will say this as it's important to note that as soon as she said it, she was like, "I don't mean that. I don't hate you. I'm sorry." So I was like, but then I was still hurt. But it's different because my son, I don't know, maybe boys are different. My son never said that. Like he's 15. Maybe it's a girl thing. I mean, my dad is no longer with us. We lost him in
Sorry.
2011, but he never got to meet my daughter, her only granddaughter. He would probably say, "I got the daughter I deserve." Let's
It's
just put
fun.
it that way.
Well,
Yeah.
my mom I mean, she passed away 2 years ago, was 100% Sicilian. So it was a
Oh,
lot of tough love growing up, and tough love for my sister, especially, but tough love for
yeah.
me. And she would say things, and I didn't know it was a Bill Cosby joke until later in life. She said, I'm not kidding. She would say, I put you on this earth, I'll take you off it, which was something that was part of the soundtrack of my life growing up. And then people like,
Yeah.
Bill Cosby said that. And I'm like, I don't know. My mom wasn't saying it to quote Bill Cosby. She wasn't doing a Bill Cosby impression.
No.
That was organic, the Sicilian mom saying that,
Yeah.
well, my Palestinian dad tempered my Sicilian mom, and also tempered, I'm half Palestinian, half Sicilian. My Palestinian side
Right.
tempers my Sicilian side.
Right.
So
Well,
this,
so I'm half Lebanese, half Irish, right? So, right. I mean, the Lebanese in me, she gets angry real quick, and she's like, "There's a look. There's just a look." I'll give him the look, but unfortunately, I'm also a pushover. Dean, I'm a total pushover. I'm always like, I always say, why wasn't I firmer? Why didn't I hold my ground? Like, why did I do that? And then I'm mad at myself, and I got a lot of lessons to learn. I mean, here they are, nearly adulthood. I'm like, well, I could do that differently, but I
well,
own it. I own it. I have a lot of room for improvement. I love them. They're my
right.
reason for everything, but I'm a pushover, a total pushover.
That's a, there's nothing. I'm sure there's a line that you will also draw too. Like, I mean, even pushovers, there's a
Yeah,
point where like, we can't do that. So let's talk about,
agreed.
unfortunately, politics. We're almost at 100 days. The first 100 days, what you call the worst 100 days that we've lived through. But let me ask you before we get into politics. You know, you're a mom, 2 kids. What are your concerns? I imagine it's different. I don't have children, about if Trump is successful at re-envisioning America the way that him and MAGA want to, like your children will grow up in a vastly different nation than we grew up in.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, factually, right now, my daughter, who is 12, has fewer fundamental human rights, basic bodily autonomy than I did, than my mother did at that age. So we're already there. But then when you look around, and it does feel like a sustained attack, and not to minimize it, on women,
Right.
but on all sorts of different marginalized groups, but also anybody that they choose to target for any given reason. Most of them are challenging any hold they have on authority. But I worry about both of my kids every single solitary day. They have been my why for all of this since 2016. But when I look around at what they are propping up, what they are celebrating, what they are emboldening in terms of men and their treatment and mistreatment of women, their degradation of women, their abuse of women, I worry about both of my kids. I worry about a handmaidens type scenario, but I worry that my daughter will have more rights stripped from her, that rape and sexual assault and sexual abuse and domestic abuse will all become normalized. They'll become signs of masculinity and manhood and male dominance, the way America used to be, right? I'm worried about the messages that my son receives to that end. I mean, he is a consumer of social media. His friends talk at the, they talk at lunch, they talk at baseball games, and their dads are saying some shit right now that scares the fuck out of me. Pardon me. Sorry,
It's fine.
Dean.
It's okay.
I swear
Substack.
on Substack. It's a
It's
thing I do.
fine. Here's,
Yeah. Yeah. So
so when
I'm
you,
worried. Sorry.
but to the point, I mean, like to sort of like quantify it or codify it a little bit here. Do you think the whole advances of Me Too have been turned back now? Like, is that
I
gone?
Well, I don't think with any pendulum swing that anything is ever fully wiped out, right? I think what happens is when it swings one way, it wipes out a lot, and but something remains, and then you rebuild in that place, and then eventually, hopefully, you end up with a net gain.
Mhm.
I don't think that that every advancement that's been made, throughout Me Too, but also civil rights, etc., women's rights. I don't think they've been wiped out, decimated completely. I don't think. I mean, not yet, but I think that what the goal is to do that and to roll back the clock on so much progress that we've made, so many things we have still yet to perfect that have been working towards perfecting. They would very much like to take us back in time, not even just to the 1800s, but to times where it was beyond that. With the Crusades, these are people who talk about the Crusades like it was the ultimate like bro fest, because this is something that they would very much
Right.
like to have again. It's like, really? But I mean, I do worry, again, but we should all be worried. We should all be worried. But
Yeah.
I will say also that I have seen enough um evidence of people, even in my friend group, people who are not that political, people who aren't dialed in that much, who are paying very close attention now, who are outraged daily and talking about it. I mean, I've seen town halls in Iowa where Chuck Grassley, who, by the way,
Mhm.
was here when the dinosaurs were walking the earth, and it's time to go, Chuck, time to go. Where people in his town halls were like, what's going on with that guy in El Salvador? What's going on? He's defying the Supreme Court. He can't do that. Why aren't you taking your own power back? So, again, that pendulum swing, Dean, I think because they are trying to like Miley Cyrus the fuck out of everything we've accomplished in terms of, societally. I think what is happening in the response to that is growing into something really significant.
And out of all of that, I have to ask, what's the Miley Cyrus thing? I got
Oh,
everything, but what,
so her video, Wrecking Ball, like
right?
I run like a
I
wrecking
remember that.
ball. Yeah.
I saw coming like a ball. You know what? To me, one of the biggest takeaways of the time we're living through, and I don't mean just now with Trump, I mean the last few years, is that I was delusional to think that progress was somewhat permanent. Like I thought when you take steps forward as a nation and the society and cultural norms change for the better, you can't, yeah, people could want to bring them back, but you can't. No, I've learned any achievement that we've made in society that you think is good for you, me, people watching, listening, they on the right are working night and day to figure out a way to take that back. And Roe v. Wade being overturned was the most manifestation of that, to see that happen. Well, women lost the right. And now it's one after the other, and that's emboldened them. So every dream they have in their little right wing fantasy rooms, they hang on YouTube and talking to Ben Shapiro or whoever, they're like, we're going to make this happen now. And Trump is their guy. He is their leader. And that's what's so deeply concerning. And so look, we're going through challenging times. You know it, I know. Are there things that have you've said one thing that brought you a little hope, like some of the friends that don't really watch what's going on now, taking sort of stock of this. Some people at Republican town halls speaking up. But what about Democrats? Have there been some that are inspiring you and are the model for the future that we need other Democrats to follow going forward?
I mean, just to name a few, I think that what Bernie Sanders and AOC are doing right now is meeting the moment in an extraordinarily powerful way. I think that you can take Bernie Sanders, love him or hate him, but you have to acknowledge what he's
Right.
doing. It is very Bernie Sanders, but it also is having an impact. It is getting, first of all, young people to get to empower themselves, to realize that they have a voice. They shouldn't just give up, because oftentimes, even my son will say, "Nothing we do matters, mom. It doesn't matter," and they're all the same. All politicians are
Mhm.
the same. It does None of this matters. But Bernie and AOC together, I think that they're ringing that bell. I think we have to take extraordinary steps right now, because these are unprecedentedly extraordinary times. I will say Cory Booker's speech was moving and
Mhm.
inspirational, and that's my senator, and I love him very much, and I'm super proud of my senator. There is a symbolism there, but if you listened to any portion of it, he wasn't just reading, green eggs and ham. There was so much in what he was saying, and the symbolism of a black man standing up there and surpassing a bigot like Thurman, that he was
Yep.
able to do that when he shouldn't have been there, if the other way had gotten their say. And these are places that they very much want to bring us back to and beyond. Again, right? This is also the point. They are continuing to marginalize and deprioritize diversity and equity and inclusion so that they can, which kills me because they want white guy DEI at places like Harvard, where it's like, oh, well, if you're loyal to Trump, then you should get preferential treatment in your tuition here. It's like enrollment here. I'm like, what? Wait, what? Because they can't win on the merits. They can't get the jobs on the merits. This is
Right.
a lie that they've all been sold. But they've all been sold this lie that the reason they don't have these extraordinary lives, that they drive a shitty truck and they live in a shitty house and their wife hates them and they're small in the pants, is somebody else's fault. It's they, them, those people. And if they, them, those people are out of the equation, all of a sudden some deity will come down to earth and just gift you with incredible success you don't have to earn. Like, that's a lie. That's a lie that they've been sold, that they bought into, because it makes them feel exceptional for one reason and one reason only. The color of their skin and their gender has granted them access into Club Broligarch when it never did. And they're finding that out now. So they're trying to make exceptions so that we give preferential treatment to white Trump supporters to get into Ivy League schools like Harvard.
If you just joined us, it's Joanne Carducci. JoJo from Jerz is laying down the truth. I love it, JoJo. So, you mentioned Trump supporters, and over the weekend, CBS poll: 91% of Trump supporters think what Donald Trump is doing is good. Not again, folks.
Mm.
91% of Republicans in a CBS poll on Sunday approve of what Trump is doing. What we see him doing, we know it is against what America should stand for. We believe in due process. We believe in equality. We believe in a nation not run by a king. They're on board with it. Is
Hmm.
there any benefit? Honestly, I mean, you're in Jersey. You do talk to some Trumpers, I'm sure. Is there some, not the diehard ones, but the ones who voted for him for one reason, let's say economic, to try to find common ground, not in the big picture of feeling good about ourselves? I've made common ground, but honestly, in trying to save this nation and building more forces against the dark forces on the other side.
I mean, there's a certain percentage of them that you just can't reach, right? Like
Right.
you
That
can't.
I
I
know.
mean,
Right.
again,
Right.
like when you see numbers, when you see the Dow, or numbers like that, when you see prices soaring, when you hear Jerome Powell saying what he said about inflation and about recession, and you turn around and tell me to cry harder because I pointed out, you tell me that owns me, that this is what they voted for. It's that you can't reach. You cannot reach those people. I mean, there's just a certain percentage you're never going to reach. First of all, the cognitive dissonance is, I mean, you just can't break through that, right? Like they're
Mhm.
going to convince themselves that up is down, that war is peace, that ignorance is strength. This is what they're going to do. They're going to twist themselves into whatever kind of pretzels they have to accommodate a reality that actually hurts them the most. They have to do that because if they don't, everything about their lives falls apart, right? Every single thing is based on this foundation of believing what they want to believe and choosing to believe, because again, it gives them keys to believing that they are somehow superior to someone. Like there's a quote up about making somebody feel king for a day. I forget like who it was, and my friend always says it and I forget, but that's really all they need. Donald Trump hates who they hate. Like it doesn't matter that
Yeah.
he promised, them to bring back manufacturing and didn't. It doesn't matter that he promised to fix their bridges and roads and didn't, or that he would end the opioid crisis and didn't, that he would have Mexico pay for the wall when he didn't. It didn't matter that he said he would drain the swamp and he's now filled it with more swamp creatures than ever. It didn't matter that he said he would lower the price of eggs when eggs have gone up since he's gone in office. It didn't matter he was a law and order president and then he was convicted of 34 felonies. None of it matters because they cannot process any of that as being more important than the fact that he hates who they hate, and that's all they think they need.
Yeah. And to them, I mean, I don't. I'm trying to be as fair as possible, which is odd for me involving Trump supporters. But I'm trying to honestly be as fair as possible. For some of them, what Trump is still doing is what they wanted. He's defending white supremacy. So there's a bucket of those people that he's the deporting everyone and no due process plays with that. There's some that really aren't about that. They're fine with it, but they're about an economic message. And I wonder if some of them we peel away. But again, getting to the fact that you're a mom, you're raising kids. We see the Trump administration now with about Mr. Garcia in the El Salvadorian prison lying. They've always lied, but this is different. There's lying about things in general, and there's lying about demonizing someone to take their fundamental rights away, which is the playbook to use against all of us. And what I mean by that is Pam Bondi, the AG, was on Fox News last night. Remember how often Merrick Garland was on Fox, on CNN, MSNBC? Never, never. But
She's
she was
always on.
on
She's always on.
saying, right, not only saying that Mr. Garcia is a criminal, saying now he's a terrorist, and that the people of Maryland are safer. And you have other Republicans saying that same thing. He's not a terrorist. He's never been accused of a crime, never been convicted of a crime. But they're using the word terrorist now. And what concerns me is that they can use it against you, your kids, me, anyone listening, anyone watching. If they don't like what you're doing, they will lie about you and put you in a prison cell. And there's two parts. That one is about your children seeing these nonstop lies and thinking this is okay to do in America when it's not okay. And secondly, where's this going? Like, when is this going to end? And does it end with us in a prison cell? And I'm not even kidding. I used to joke about that with Stephanie Miller. I'm like, I hope we're in the same camp and have free Wi-Fi. Now, I'm not kidding. I'm like, I hope we're in the same camp with free Wi-Fi. This is where we're going.
No, it's not hyperbolic to worry. I mean, again, just a sort of quick sidebar on my kids. My kids they're seeing what I'm saying in response to the lie. So I'll say that my kids, unfortunately for them, are more dialed in than the average 12 and 15-year-old, because this is the stuff I mean, I'm driving my kid to school this morning talking about Abrego Garcia and about the Holocaust and
Wow.
about how there was a reason that Hitler built the camps outside of Germany, and there's a reason why we're putting these people in El Salvador. There's these lawless zones where you can plausible deniability should be Donald Trump's middle fucking name, by the way. The guy is a goddamn. That's the book he should have written, The Art of the Plausible Deniability, because the buck never stops with him. It's amazing how infrequently the buck stops with the guy who's sitting at the resolute desk. But whatever. But this is what there history may not repeat, but it certainly does rhyme. So my kids are a little bit more dialed in than the average bear. But where is this going? I mean, read anything by Timothy Snyder, right? This is exactly, almost eerily so, Hitler's playbook. I mean, the
Mhm.
dehumanization, Dean, like, that is crucial. And not only did Law and Order Barbie say that Marilyn was safer and lie about him being a terrorist and being a criminal and being a gang member. Not only did she, and we'll unpack this co-opting of the word terrorist, by the way, she also said that his family, his wife and child, were now safer because he
Mhm.
wasn't in the home,
Yep.
because there was something to do with his wife, and maybe there was a domestic look. He was not convicted of any crimes. There is the gaslight that his wife, who has been pleading on national TV for
Mhm.
some proof of life of her husband at all. She wasn't even told where he was until someone saw his a tattoo of his and said, "I think that's him." This is what Pam Bondi is doing, and they're not satisfied with how they've been able to dehumanize him yet, because we can't let it go, and we shouldn't let it go, and we won't let it go. So they're upping the rhetoric to further dehumanize him, now lying about everything related to his record, which they won't provide any proof. All of that, right? So it does not stop there. They wouldn't let his own senator, he's a constituent in Maryland, they
Yep.
wouldn't let Van Hollen see him. They've not provided any proof of life whatsoever. I mean, there is obviously no due process here. So where is it going? It's not going to stop with who they say are violent Venezuelan gang members. It's not going to stop with the protesters, the college protesters who wrote op-eds critical of Netanyahu. It's not going to stop with anyone who dares to speak out. Like Mike Lukovich is one of the greatest political cartoonists of all time. You can find him on all the socials, but it's LUK. It's Mike Lukovich. You go to my
Sure. I'll check it out.
Twitter right now. Is one of my more recent tweets. He put up a cartoon yesterday or 2 days ago, and it was Trump in no clothes and the emperor hat on, and a little girl says he's not wearing any clothes, and the next slide is her behind bars in El Salvador. And like, political cartoonists are just genius, first of all, because the way they can distill such complicated things into one single image is so powerful to me. But that's where we're headed, Dean. That's where we're headed.
Hmm.
What they are telling you, look at Harvard. They're trying to remove their tax exempt status. Look at all the law firms who were, they threatened with, lawsuits if they didn't comply, and most of those law firms complied. And this is why number one rule in on tyranny is do not obey in advance. And
Yep.
Harvard is saying, fuck off, you stupid orange turd. Like, we're not going to do that. The governor of Maine, fuck off. And what does he do? He takes the full power of the United States government. Talk about weaponization of the government, please. And he focuses his ire on making them pay. The goal, nobody says anything critical of me ever, just like every happy little dictator, just like in the history of time. That is where we're headed. And people are paying attention. And I'm telling you, the antidote to all of this, we're seeing it in action. It seems like it can feel hopeless because there are not a lot of mechanisms in government. Like when he defies the Supreme Court, it's like, what are you going to do? But we, the people, still hold the power here. That is the fix. That's the solution.
And it has to be the solution. If not, we are hopeless. We're left on without a lifeboat in the middle of the ocean. And
Right.
the I keep trying to make the point, and I'm glad that members of Congress, I saw Maxwell Frost yesterday say it, Senator Cory Booker said over the weekend, others, what's going on with Mr. Garcia? What's going on with the students who have green cards? It doesn't end there. It begins there. And that's why
Mhm.
everyone should be concerned with what's happening and what you're seeing, because it doesn't, the goal is to silence dissent and to end due process. So it's two parts. You have the one with the dissent about the students who are talking about the Middle East in ways that the regime doesn't agree. And then let's not have due process when we silence them. And we're going to label them as pro Hamas. We're going to label Mr. Garcia as a terrorist. You see what they're doing. It is no different than what
Mhm.
Vladimir Putin has done in Russia, putting people in prison during the Ukraine war who spoke out against the war and labeling them as being enemies of the state or foreign agents, the exact term they do in their legal analysis. So this is,
Mhm.
I've never been more concerned, and I say this all sincerity, for the future of this nation, for our freedoms, for the future of your children, my sister's children, people listening, their children and grandchildren, where we're heading. This is like something on the History Channel, but we're living it. It's like not turn like in 10 years, 20 years, they're going to turn the History Channel like, why did those people see it? We're here telling you, you have to see this. You can't turn away. And if you check out to get regroup. I get that. But if you take too long to come back in, you're not going to recognize the United States of America. And I never thought I would say that, but that's where we are, JoJo. So let me add before we wrap up, like a couple more minutes here. You know, callers to my show brought up for Democrats to do different things to get more press to break through because right now there is a media dominance by Donald Trump. Corporate media loves him. We get it. So Democrats have to do things differently. What about a national strike? What about shadow government type of thing? What about demanding the arrest of Donald Trump daily, calling on the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, to investigate Trump, not for U.S. crimes, because we can't do it, but for El Salvador, they're a signator. I'm just throwing out various things. Like the point is, Democrats have to think outside of the norms, outside of the box to get some media coverage to try to win these battles. What do you think? Any other ideas outside of the box?
I mean, again, I consistently come back to just keep showing up. It's not outside of the box to march. It's not outside of the box to organize. It's not outside of the
Mhm.
box to, start gatherings in your house like Indivisible after the 2016 election. I was hiding in a local college basement with a bunch of friends whispering because we didn't know what the fuck was going on. And yeah, we do live in unprecedented and extraordinary times. And when I hope to live in interesting times, I sure as shit didn't hope to live in times like this. So I mean, I think that the Democrats have to get crafty. I think what we saw with Cory Booker, with other votes, is when they
Mhm.
stand up and they obstruct, because this is what Mitch McConnell, his middle name, not shouldn't just be evil turtle. It should be obstruct, 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 because that's what he did. Hi, Merrick Garland should have been a Supreme Court justice and not Attorney General. Thanks, Mitch McConnell. But that's what the Democrats should be doing more of. But they have to get loud. They have to
Yeah.
constantly be in your face. Chris Murphy's been doing a really good job, but we need more rapid response. I don't want Gavin Newsom talking to Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon. I want him to go to his phone when he sees an Oval Office meeting where the sitting president of the United States says the guy who calls himself the coolest dictator, who's, by the way, dressed like he's the owner of a nightclub on Staten Island, and says we need 5 more of these prisons. We're just going to send our homegrown criminals there. I want someone like Gavin Newsom to go to his phone and give his absolute visceral gut response, right? I want, because that makes people feel seen. People who are right now going, okay, this seems nuts. I'm supposed to ask you to pass the butter at this barbecue, but like this all seems fucking nuts, right? Like, can somebody just confirm for me that this feels nuts? Because when you don't feel seen in a moment like this, you just unplug. You just tap out
Yeah.
because you think you're crazy. And that's the goal, right? So we have to keep lifting each other up, but also amplifying the reality of that. This is not normal. This is not okay. This is the reality they want us to accept. And we have to keep being loud. We have to demand that our leaders get loud. We have to demand that they talk to the people. They talk to independent creators, that they talk to more women. No offense to white dudes, but we have a lot of white dudes who get a lot of access. More people of color need more access, but we need to see the rage, anxiety, fear, worry, all of those things reflected back in our leaders and in our electeds. That is really important. And that's when you can do that, Dean, then all the things you just mentioned, those things become more powerful. Those things
Sure.
have more resonance. They end up on their heels. We go on the offense and they have to defend, just like they're doing right now, the worst that they're trying to do. But we have to keep the pressure on, and we can never, ever, ever let it up. And it's getting scary, and that's by design. It's scary for me. It's scary for a lot of my fellow creators. It's scary to put your neck out there. You worry. But that, if you give in to the fear and you stay quiet, last thing I'll say about this, then you have to accept the reality that comes with that. When I was a kid learning about the Holocaust, I was such a pain in the ass. I kept asking my teacher, what did the regular Germans do? That's what I was so consumed with this. I
Mhm.
know what the SS officers did. I
So
know what Hitler did. I know what Goebbels did. What did the regular Germans do? And they wouldn't answer me. They didn't have answers. What you're doing now, folks, that's the answer to that question. That's the answer to that question. So whatever you're doing right now, if you're looking the other way, and I would cry, if you're looking the other way, when we don't have any proof of life of a man who was taking care and with, by the way, with his child when he was abducted, um whatever you're doing right now, if that's not making you stand up and speak out, if you're being quiet, that's the answer to the question about what the regular Germans were doing.
and that's very well put, my friend Joanne. And to me, if you want to put the worst of the worst in the El Salvadorian prison who are homegrown, as Trump says, well, let's start with Donald Trump. The man, and I'm not even kidding. Think about in the last few years, who else was convicted of 34 felonies for cheating the 2016 campaign, charged with 4 felonies for cheating the 2020 campaign, incited a terrorist attack, a charge with 31 counts of violating the Espionage Act, and charged with obstructing
Mhm.
justice, which goes to the heart of our criminal justice system. The man is the greatest threat to our freedoms and our Constitution. He should be in a prison, and I would cheer it. I know I make an exception. But before we wrap up, Joanne, if people want to follow your work, your Substack, where can they go?
Oh well, I want to just add before I plug
Please
myself,
do, of
Dean, that
course.
wanted that terrorist question, right? That weird co-opting and reframing of the word terrorist that they're doing with innocent people who write op-eds and just happen to do construction while taking care of their autistic children. Remember, this is the same exact person who just pardoned every single person who violently or non-violently attacked our capital, right? Like every person, all of the Proud Boys, all of them, the people who beat Michael Fanone that gave him a heart attack, the people who beat Sergeant Gannell, the people who Brian Sicknick's life was lost because of, those people are being praised. They're getting, their choir is going to sing at the Kennedy Center. They're gonna, I bet you he's gonna have something, a float or some shit at his stupid small in the pants parade. They are reframing them as patriots and heroes while calling civil dissenters terrorists. This is, again, part of that playbook. Pay attention to that and stand up and say bullshit every goddamn time. That said, you can find me here on Substack. I have the Are You Ever Kidding Me Substack. That is my baby. It is something I'm so incredibly proud of, and a community that is one of the most incredibly supportive, genius, smart, wonderful, activated, awesome communities I've ever found in my life. So that's where I am. I'm also, of course, on all the socials at JoJo From Jerz. I'm launching a YouTube channel that's kind of growing slowly. TikTok. Pretty much, if there's a platform to be on, I'm on it. So
JoJo from
yeah,
Jerz
that's
is
me.
there. And you have look, you did a great job praising, and I know that's sincere, the people who subscribe to your Substack. So I just want to say to subscribers to mine, I think you're the smartest, most beautiful people ever. Okay. And they're even. I'm not going to say who's better, who's smarter, who's quicker, faster, whatever. We both have great people who subscribe, and I certainly appreciate everyone who tunes in. I'm going to start doing more Substack lives, but reads my articles because I love writing so much. But Joanne, thanks so much for being on, my friend. It's great chatting with you. I look forward to chatting with you more often in the future.
Yeah, we got to do this more often, Dean. 100%.
Have a great day. Take care, my friend.
All
Thanks,
right. Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.